Welcome to Good Dog Pro, the weekly video podcast that's all about having a good dog without using fear or pain. Hosted by Drayton Michaels, CTC, Pit Bull guru and founder of Urban Dawgs and moderndogtraining.com, and Kim Merritt, co-founder of GoodDogInABox.com and GoodDogPro.com, and founder of the URL Doctor. This episode is brought to you by GoodDogInABox.com, reward-based dog training and dog bite prevention products for families with kids and dogs. GoodDogPro.com, the online content subscription and community for dog professionals with reward-based dog training products, curriculums, and online courses to educate, motivate, and positively impact those that work with dogs. And ModernDogTraining.com, remote consulting for you and your dog with Drayton Michaels. Now, let's join Good Dog Pro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Good Dog Pro, the video podcast where we're going to be discussing and debating dog training without fear and pain. I'm Kim Merritt, the co-founder of Good Dog in a Box and Good Dog Pro, and I am super excited to introduce my co-host for today and for all our upcoming video podcasts, Mr. Drayton Michaels, Pit Bull guru, and you will find Drayton at Urban Dawgs and moderndogtraining.com. Hey, Drayton, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Kim. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me and for consenting to this wonderful podcast. I'm super excited. Let's get started. In this episode, understanding how behavior works, we're going to look at things from the dog's perspective and then from the human side to really kind of get a better understanding of what's going on inside your dog's head as we're dealing with them on a daily basis. So Drayton, when it comes to understanding dog behavior, let's start at the beginning, because I think a lot of dog owners might not truly understand dog training, dog behavior. What's going on in our dog's head when it comes to how they behave and how they learn?
Well, before we even start with what's going on with dogs, I'm going to start with a really bold statement. And that bold statement is, I would say 99% of the people walking the planet don't really understand behavior. Right. And then there's probably another, good group of people who may even have degrees in behavior, but they have some sort of hitch in how to apply what they learn with their dog. I just went through this with two clients who have one who's on her way to be a PhD in applied behavior analysis, and another woman who is, a therapist and a cognitive, graduate, has all that information, but then taking that and applying it to her dog is a challenge. And I think this is where a lot of people miss the boat. The other bold statement I'd like to start out with is that everybody needs to realize that there is no moral imperative by the dog to disobey you or to be bad or to be jealous, stubborn, spiteful. That whole, range of anthropomorphic motivators that have been attributed to dogs do not exist. And later we'll talk about motivation, but the motivation for dogs is much different than the motivation for humans. So when you look at your dog's behavior, when you look at a dog's behavior, the thing that's really easy to remember is that if they're doing it, it's reinforcing, even if we don't like it. So one of the examples I give is, we see a dog barking at a window. Is the dog angry, fearful, stressed, happy, frightened, startled? What's going on with this dog? Did it just see a squirrel run by? Did the mailman just ring the doorbell? Like, what's going on? We don't know. All we know is that the dog is barking at the window. But if you took 100 people, they would say it's aggressive, it's bad, the owners are bad, So at the end of the day, when you look at behavior, what you have to do is you have to be an observer, not so much an interpreter. And you need to observe it and then interpret it or assess it based on how dogs view the world. So everybody knows who Pavlov is, right? He had the famous experiment. He made a sound. It was actually a little click. And then he gave the dogs food and he realized, oh, when I make the click, they drool. Well, what they don't tell people is that the dog started to drool when those guys showed up for work in the morning. So when Pavlov as an assistant were walking in the door, one day one of the assistants said, hey, they're drooling already. So Pavlov discovered predictive value, right? Or predictive sequences. Safe, unsafe, neutral are how every dog views everything, regardless of breed, size, or age. Now, some dogs might be selected to have a little bit more fear or suspicion because they're guard dogs and things like that. But even that, right? Again, we're not going to go into the genetics discussion, but even that can be kind of a crapshoot because there's no exact way you can predict how a dog is going to develop, right? It's going to be environment and genetics and then the humans and their choices. But safe, unsafe, neutral, that's how dogs figure out their world. And I'm going to be really honest here. I've never been with a dog where they felt unsafe and they were actually unsafe. So every time when I'm with a dog, and I tell my clients this, and your dog gets scared or startled, do not scold them, because all you're going to do is prove to them that, yeah, doorbells are scary. Because look, you're scared of the doorbell and I just yelled at you, or, people do worse. But dogs don't go through life looking to cause trouble. There's no such thing as bad dogs. They're innocent creatures. They have the cognition of 3-year-old kids by the time they're 2. This is proven, right? This is not my opinion. So safe, unsafe, neutral is the most important thing. Pavlov's always on your shoulder. That's what they said to me at the Academy for Dog Trainers. Whatever you're doing with dogs, they have a feeling about it, and people need to be sensitive to that, because fear generalizes easy. So if the dog's afraid of your hands today because you're putting a harness on them or a collar or something, tomorrow it could be worse if you're not reducing that fear or stress. So the macro goal, the thing that everybody needs to do, is make your dog feel safe, less stress. Get that going first. Then the training will be much easier. It's no different. It's the reason why you and I got together before we started the podcast, right? To make sure we had some things together, right? Reduce our stress, have a conversation, get the lighting. And that's one of the other things that I tell clients and people all the time. Like, the O in dog is for organization, right? Dedicated, organized, gentle. Most people are dedicated. Organization is the challenge. I'm hoping most people are gentle, right? And they're not doing things with their dog to cause them fear and pain. But organization is key. And if you go through your life, always remember, I just got to set up things so the dog feels good. Then I can get the sits and the weights and things easier. Consequence learning, right? B.F. Skinner, consequence learning, right? That is sequences or flow charts. This happens, then this happens, then this, right? And dogs figure those sequences out. Consequences can be a reward. Consequences can be something that removes reinforcement. When I get accused of not using punishments, what I tell people is I punish without pain, right? I can punish a dog, right? I can give them some sort of correction or consequence that lets them know it didn't work without causing them fear and pain, right? So whether it's a timeout, whether it's I remove the treat from the dog quick because they're trying to snatch it from my hand, whether I stop walking because the dog's pulling me like a sled and I stop the reinforcement of movement. But that's what you're doing when you're issuing kind consequences. You're removing reinforcement. A lot of people think that reinforcement is food. That's only one form of reinforcement. Scent, access to things, different rooms, different neighborhoods. Chewing and dissection is reinforcement. Jumping is reinforcing, digging is reinforcement, barking is reinforcing. So you start to figure out that a lot of stuff dogs do is reinforcing to them. In the proper context, it's great. Digging and running and chewing stuff and going crazy outside is great. Inside, maybe not so much, depending on that context. Maybe you have a room for your dog. Maybe you're actually helping your dog run around and do things in your house and chew on stuff legally. So reinforcement is really crucial, because that's all dogs really care about. Safety first, food and water, and then can I do something that's fun with dogs or humans? What's reinforcing out here? So if you also look at dogs and say to yourself, okay, so it's reinforcing for them to do all these things, let me get ahead of it. Let me help my dog chew on stuff as opposed to waiting for the dog to get stressed, right? Because chewing reduces stress, it's mental stimulation. I call any type of puzzle toy or anything the dog can dissect legally doggy iPads. Have you ever seen a 7-year-old kid with an iPad and a pair of headphones? Forget it. You know where
Exactly.
you know what they're doing. They're fine. They're happy to play a math game. This kid will learn long division by the time he's 4 because he's got an iPad and headphones. Back when I was a kid, I was like, division? No, Mickey Mouse, right? So now what we have with dogs is, you don't have to bark all day. You don't have to be, sitting here with all this excess energy on a snowy day or rainy day or when I'm busy doing stuff. I can just parse out work to eat toys because I know it's reinforcing for my dog to work for food and dissect. Something like that can reduce massive stress in somebody's life and a huge amount of stress for the dog. Scent is another huge reinforcer for dogs. And when people learn how to use that reinforcement of scent, you can actually reduce pulling, your dog's less stressed on leash, etc. So anything the dog finds reinforcing is going to increase the behavior they're doing to get it, right? So that's where things become a little challenging, because if your dog is jumping on you and you say off, down, sit, and then you give the dog a treat, you're teaching your dog the first part of the sequence is jump on me, and then sit, and then get reinforced, right? Because jumping's reinforcing, so that's reinforcing in of itself, and now you push the dog down or you say off, and then you give the dog a treat for sitting. Remember that sequence, right? Dogs figure out the sequences, right? Remember Pavlov, predictive value. So humans have to set up the right sequences so the dogs understand, I'm going to get reinforced for these behaviors, whether it's sitting and waiting or waiting at the door. 95% of life with a dog is don't do that, do something else. And that's where you teach your dog, some things like, sit waits, leave it, and touch, hand targeting cues. So you have these little communication skills with your dog so they can get proper reinforcement for the proper sequence.
So for the dog owner who maybe hasn't done a lot of dog training, and we're trying to tell them you don't want to reinforce bad behavior. So let's say, for example, your dog does jump on you or does do something that you don't want to. So explain what do they want to do?
Well, let's backtrack a little bit again, and this might be difficult because there's a lot of misinformation in dog culture. There's no such thing as a bad behavior. All behavior has a purpose. Now, it may not be at the right time when we want it to happen, but the dog isn't doing it with that moral imperative to be bad. But I understand the context. Your dog does something and you want to decrease it. Remember, reinforcement, right? Positive adds, negative subtracts. So the common things that people end up inadvertently reinforcing their dog for are the following: counter surfing, table surfing. The common way that people handle it is, hey, off, down, right? Or they get really mad and yell at the dog. But the thing that people don't understand is dogs have been scavenging for billions of years. They're not going to stop scavenging. And your counters and your table have a lot of reinforcement. They have food, right? And people do stuff. Dogs are like, a lot of stuff happens up at these counters and tables. So management's the first step. Get a gate so your dog can't rehearse it. Behavior that's rehearsed becomes stronger. If the dog does jump on a table, it's too bad, and you gently take the dog by the collar or the harness and you remove them from the room, just behind the gate. 10 seconds. When you let them back in, leave it. They leave the counter, give them something to do on the floor that's going to keep their attention away from the counter or the table. Work to eat toy, bully stick, etc. The other common one is dogs jump on people. Again, if dogs have access, then they can do the behavior. So I always say to people, and I give my clients a 3-page PDF on reducing stopping on visitors. Hi, yeah, hey, how you doing? Do me a favor, don't ring or knock when you get here, okay? Yeah, just let us know we're doing some training with the dog. Okay, boom. 10 minutes go by, you get your call, you get your text, your people are here. Come here, buddy. You bring your dog behind the gate, shut the gate, you let the people in. Dog never jump on anybody when they walk in. When they mingle, they might. So dog mingles with the people. When they jump, level 1 is person walks away. Level 2 is dog gets put away. Right? Those are kind consequences that teach the dog, if you jump on people, you get no reinforcement because, hey, cut it out, get off, sit, that's all going to reinforce the dog for jumping. You have to immediately extricate any reinforcement, attention, or give the dog attention of, yeah, you're out of here. I'm going to put you on the other side of the gate for 10 seconds. And then you teach the dog, wait, sit. Right? You teach your dog a wait and a sit, auto sit. And then you teach your dog touch, so they come over and touch the palm of your hand. So as they're approaching you, they're targeting your hand or they're learning to wait and sit. If they don't do it, you walk away or you time them out.
And so much of this is just common sense.
But it's not that common because, see, the common approach is knee the dog in the chest, choke his neck with a collar, yell at him and intimidate him, blame the heck out of him, right? That's what people do. That's why my phone doesn't stop ringing, because that stuff really doesn't work. Because even though the dog might never jump on you again if you knee him in the chest really hard, you just need an animal in the chest.
Right.
Like that's not right.
Right.
Where does it go? So they don't jump on you. But what about your wife? Or what about your kids or your cousins? See, dogs generalize fear very well. That's why pain trainers use it, whether they realize what they're doing or not, because they're just hoping the dog figures it out quick, or they're not. Maybe they like shocking and choking the dog repeatedly. But what I'm getting at is that you can't approach dog behavior by causing them fear and pain, because it's a slippery slope. Sure, they may stop doing it, but now they're afraid to approach people, because they're going to have a generalized fear of the context and the stimulus. Guaranteed. This is science. That's why pain trainers are like, look, I shocked him once and he didn't do it. Yeah, because you got a dog who figured out real quick, oh, crap. When I approach that person, I get shocked, right? And then you let the shock go when they sit. I understand the quadrants of conditioning. I get it, behavior. What I'm saying is you can do it without any of that. Wait, sit, then let the dog jump on you. Invite him up. I tell my clients all the time, you want your dog to jump on you and give you a hug? Train him to do it with a sit first, right? Teach him you can't jump on me unless I invite you up. Same with the couch, right? There's another big kerfuffle. My question is, are they soiling it or destroying it? If the answer is no, why do you care if the dog's on the couch? Hair, get a cover. And
Right.
with little kids, I always say to moms, all right, so let's play this out. Saturday morning. You walk in the living room. Your 10-year-old and your 8-year-old are sitting side by side with the dog in the middle. When you walk in, your heart melts because there's so much cute and love going on. And they're spilling the milk and the puppy, right? You're going to break that up? You're going to yell at the dog and the kids? No, you're not. No, you're not. So train your dog how to get on the couch, right? If I'm sitting on a couch or a chair and the dog walks over and jumps all over me, I time them out. When they come out of timeout, I say, wait, sit. Same thing with when you're at the dinner table. Every dog that's ever been my dog or every dog that's ever boarded with me, I teach them right away. Here's what you do when I'm sitting here eating. You sit or you down, and I'll pay you. If you get up and you try to pester me for food, I'll time you out. And yep, I will sacrifice some meal time to teach the dog that pestering me while I eat won't get you anything other than time out. But if you sit or you're down, I'll pay you all day because now you're giving me behavior that's appropriate for this context. So one of the other things that I want people to understand is that the dirty little secret in dog training is it's all about the human. So you have to be engaged in your behavior. You have to understand that dogs move 7 to 10 times faster than humans. And if you're distracted, then you need to understand that your dog might just tune you out and you might have to pop back in. It's funny, a colleague of mine once said, well, you know, like when you're in training mode. And I looked at him, I'm like, what are you talking about? Training mode? I'm up at 5:30. I go to bed at midnight. I'm in training mode constantly all day from the time I get up. So for me, this is what I do. That's why I call myself Kobe Bryant, because all I do is work on my craft and help people get better at training their dogs. So understanding reinforcements. We talked about positive. Now, negative reinforcement is something that's very misunderstood. Let me make it very simple. There's a sequence, ABC, antecedent. This is the thing that precedes the behavior, okay? So the antecedent for a dog who is going to jump on people are people, right? The people show up, he jumps. Behavior is jumping, right? What's the consequence? Well, consequence in my world is you're going to get ignored or I'm going to time you out. So the antecedent, the thing that happens before the behavior in a negative reinforcement sequence is an aversive, okay? I didn't say fear or pain. I said an aversive. Aversives don't have to be painful or fearful. Example, I get to the door, I say, wait. The dog waits, I crack the door a half inch, but the dog moves, I shut the door. I don't hurt the dog with the door, but I just shut the door on the dog. You know what the dog learns? Wow, with Drayton, I better wait because if I move before he says, okay, the door's going to shut. That's negative reinforcement, right? And I'm implementing that consequence. Here's another example. I go to put a harness on a dog and they back away. They're implementing negative reinforcement. They're trying to stop the aversive. So when you have a negative reinforcement sequence, the beginning of the sequence is an aversive. And the behavior by the dog is usually, right, some form of either trying to get away or mouthing, combating it in some way. They're trying to avoid the aversive, okay? And, you know, there's many things in life like dogs have to do, like little kids. So I always say you got to learn how to be humanely assertive. You got to wear a harness. I don't want your neck to get choked. We got to get you in the bath. You stepped in something nasty. So when you have these sort of what will hopefully be innocuous to the dog, you just pair it. Right? So I'm putting a harness over your head, you're stressed, but look, I could drop a bunch of meat on the floor and put it in your mouth and I'm pairing it with that. Not the most elegant pairing of counter conditioning, but hey, it's 6 a.m. and you're a puppy and I need to get you out and I need you like your harness. So we're just going to kind of hook food over, right? Same thing a lot of times with the car. Just whoop in the car, here's a work to eat toy. I'll sit with you in the back seat. So you can pair these little stressful negative reinforcement sequences and actually turn it around and make it a positively reinforced sequence by padding those events with something that the dog finds reinforcing. The challenging part is when there's a lot of people in the mix and maybe somebody's going, hey, no, to the dog, and the other person's going, wait. So that's where it can get tricky when there's more people. Everybody has to be on the same page because the goal is sound dogs, right? Yeah, you want a sound dog above everything else.
Right. Right. And so, and that kind of set up my next question very well. Talk about this type of behavior and what you want to do with your dog with children. You've got children in your house, children around the dog all the time. We don't want our kids to get bitten. Children may not understand some of these things. So as a parent and as a dog owner, what do we want to do? How do we want to address this with our kids and a dog in the same house?
Well, we first want to talk about age of kids, age of dog, right? Because that's really crucial. If you've got a 10-year-old and you've got a 12-year-old, you can have a couple of really good little dog trainers on your hand to help you out with stuff, right? And really give the adults a little bit of a reprieve and help the kids learn about responsibility. But if we're talking about, let's say, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, then what I tell people is with really little kids who aren't going to be that engaged or really distracted, supervise, orchestrate, separate. It's very simple. So you supervise the whole interaction, right? The whole thing, whether you got a puppy or a dog who's 5 years old and loves everybody, right? We're taking all the dogs off the table who have fear, aggression, extreme stress, like all the dogs who really should just be gated away from kids with a bunch of work to eat toys, right? And if they're coming at 7 and your dog eats at 5, don't feed him too much at 5. Give him some hors d'oeuvres so he's not nuts. But at 5 or 7, when all the kids show up and the relatives, boom, here's your first frozen Kong, right? So now, kids and dogs, supervise every interaction, the whole thing, orchestrate it. What does your dog know? Do they play fetch? Do they have a good sit? Do they have a touch? Do they have a down? Do it with the kids. Look, let's train the dog. And you can do most of it and just have the kids involved, as best they can be. That could be anywhere from 30 seconds to 4 minutes, and then we separate. All right, doggy's going over here. You kids leave the doggy alone. Boom. Now the kids can be over here playing video games. The dog's over here chewing a bully stick. You tell the kids, don't bother the dog when they're chewing their ice cream cone, right? And you just let the kids know, we'll play with doggy later. Maybe we'll go for a walk. And that's how you do it. If it's just, oh yeah, anyway, did you watch the game last night? Blah, 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 blah. And the kids are ripping and running in the backyard with the dog and you're going, hey, cut it out, right? Bad. Not good, right? Not good. Because even the most friendly, well-socialized dog, 35 pounds and up, can bowl over a kid, not mean to. Kids trip, kids scream, kids grab.
Yes.
Right? All innocent enough. Would I do it? Yeah, I'd be out there running with the kids. My 54-year-old butt would be out there refereeing the dog and the kids to make sure everything went okay. The dog was learning, right? And in those cases, like if you're an astute dog guardian, your dog's well trained, mazel tov, go for it. Like 7, 8, 9-year-old kids want to run with the dog, throw the ball. Great. Just be there to referee. And you know what I would say? Work the dog. Don't even worry about the kids, right? Leave it. Work the dog. Because dogs categorically are, if they're well trained, they are way easier to communicate with than a couple of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids wilding out, right? Not that the kids are bad, but kids, honestly, I work with dogs and kids, and the dogs are way better trained than the kids. They're way better trained. They have smaller brains. So that's how I deal with it. And what I tell people is, you don't want to run in the room and say what happened. That's
right.
Complete, right? Because you don't know what happened. The kid could have done something as innocent as touch the dog's ear while he's sleeping, and because it's a kid and it's right in the dog's face, the dog snaps at him when he wakes up. It's not an adult who's 4.5 feet away waking the dog up gently, right? Like safe, unsafe, neutral. And kids get this. I just had a woman post on my Facebook page the other day. She said, my 4-year-old granddaughter knows about all this behavior stuff. She can repeat it to you. Right? And so this is a 4-year-old kid. Kids who want to be engaged with dogs and learn this stuff is great. It really is. I think most of the time that 9 and up, when they come to puppy class and they go home, they're the ones who keep the parents in line. So, Drayton said, don't yell at the dog. Drayton said, just watch the video, so kids can be a huge asset, you just have to make sure you set it up right so that everybody's safe.
And give our dog owner parents out there a guideline. What you're talking about, being there and really watching what's going on all the time. Age limit wise with your kids, kind of give us an idea of what you have to be looking for, what you have to supervise.
Right. So if you have a baby, right? I do a lot of baby prep. when you have a baby that's not walking or talking or crawling or anything, it's you're supervising and then you're separating. There is no orchestration. You're just working the dog, right? And you're creating, you're doing a lot of counter conditioning. Yes, and treat for, oh, the dog looked at the kid when the kid touched the mobile. Yes, and treat when the kid starts crying. Yay, baby's crying. I changed the diaper, right? Everything with baby and dog is amazing. That you cannot. Kids are the most salient thing in an environment for dogs. Sometimes even more than other dogs, because kids are weird, right? And not in a bad way. Just kids do, like, this is what I tell people. Yes, and treat your dog for every kid you ever see. Why? Because they go from calm to chaotic in a blink of an eye.
Right.
In 1 minute they're walking, the next minute they're on the ground crying, the parents got to deal with it. And your dog's going to go, whoa, what's it? So there's a lot of startling with little kids. And then, you know, when they start getting a little bit older and they're holding on to the gates and they're talking, same thing. You're yesing and treating. So if you have a baby and a dog, regardless of breed or size or age, you're looking at about 7 years where your dog and your kid, the only time they're together is when you're right there. 7, you're still right there. But, you know, if the kid's sitting on the couch eating cereal and the dog's laying there chewing a bully stick and the dog's not resource guarding and the kid's smart enough to not bother the dog, you can walk out of the room and go do the dishes. Right? So you don't have to be a jail warden. But if your 7-year-old kid wants to go out in the backyard and play with the dog, I would say, you know, adult supervision is probably a good idea, right? You can sit there and read a book or be on your phone if it's that easy of a dynamic, but maybe you'd want to be more involved depending on the dog and the kid. When you get up into that area where kids can read sentences and they understand paragraphs and that, then that's a whole new world, because now you can explain to your children the rules. You know, one of the big rules I tell the kids is, when you walk to your front door, your back door to leave or to let your friends or family in, look at your feet. Because if your dog is there, you got to have mom or dad bring the dog behind the gate. Don't just walk through doors anymore, especially with these little tiny dogs who you don't hear them. You know, like a little chihuahua or like a little terrier, like 4 pounds, you know, and the kid's like, all right, bye, mom, I'm going to Billy's house. And he runs out the door, and then 2 hours later, where's the dog?
Right.
You know, so safety is my religion, and everything we talk about, whether it's how to have dogs feel good about stuff or how to just set up the environment, always has safety in it. So I don't apologize for it, because I don't have stories in my life like that, you know. And some people kind of cock an eye, like, really? I just had a guy ask me if I could do a session to help his 10-year-old kid walk his 60-pound pit bull, and I said, no, because your kid's too young to walk your dog. He's going to get hurt. You shouldn't walk him. I mean, maybe in the backyard with you there, but even that could be disastrous. A 60-pound dog could pull my arm out of my socket.
Yes.
Yeah. They won't, because I'm on my game, but a 10-year-old kid is a 10-year-old kid. I just had this incident in my neighborhood. There was 2 kids walking their dog. Neither one of them had no shoes. The other one had flip-flops. And I looked over and I said, hey, kids, your dog's eating something. And the kid goes, yeah, it looks like it's dog poop. I go, well, don't let him do it. The kid kicked the dog in the face. Like, not in a mean way, but like that, he's 6 or 9 or whatever, you know. And the whole time I'm looking at him, I had this all on film on my GoPro, and I was just like, guys, don't run. You're going to fall. Like, and they were like, we're sorry. I'm like, you're not in trouble. I'm worried you're going to hurt yourself. Like, I'm scared. Right. And I walk dogs out here. Right. But, you know, like, don't take chances with your dogs and your kids. Be there, put up gates, have it fun, and then dogs will appreciate it too. A lot of times dogs are done with the 6-year-old touching them. They don't need it, because the dog's done 7 stress yawns, 90 lip licks, and they're doing all these negative reinforcement aversive behaviors, and they think it's cute. And the kid's like, doggy, doggy. And the dog's like, whoa, man, I'm really kind of done here. Right. So you got to learn to read that stuff too. And it's better to just short and sweet. Most people want 30 seconds to a minute from your dog. Most adults that visit you, they don't want to be, they're not there to play with you. They're not me. If I show up at your party, I'm going to have a drink, hang out for about 10 minutes, and I'm going to go find the dogs, and I'm going to go teach them stuff. That's just who I am. I'm a geek like that. But most people, adults, don't want that much from your dog. And in kids, again, set it up. If you don't have to do it right away, you can use it as a reward. All right, well, first we're going to do this stuff, kids, and then we'll go out in the backyard and play with the dog in a half hour, right? Do something for me, and then we'll go have doggy time. In the meantime, your dog's chewing a bully stick or working on a frozen Kong, and they don't really care that people showed up. So
that's a wrap for our first episode and our first half hour. So Drayton, just give us a short little wrap up for our dog owners.
You got it.
top couple things what they want to look for and do.
The thing is safe environments and safe human behavior. No fear or pain, no startle, no hey dog, cut it out. Look to positive dog training, force-free dog training, anything that's going to help you communicate with your dog where you're not adding stress. Remember, when it comes to dog training, the dirty little secret, it's about us. It's about humans, right? We have to fix our behavior, then we'll be in better sync with the dog. Lastly, your dog's not doing anything bad. That's a lie. That's a myth that's been sold to people. Don't buy it. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Dogs have the cognition of 3-year-old kids by the time they are socially mature at age 2. The larger breeds, the really big dogs, maybe they get another year or so of development, but definitely by the time dogs are fully mature, they are no smarter than a 3 or 4-year-old kid. There are some Mensa dogs out there. Trust me, I've met them. They're really smart dogs, but we're smarter. You can always find something for your dog to do and chew to reduce their stress, right? We're just talking about dogs who just got impulse control, happy-go-lucky. We're not talking about the extreme cases where dogs have separation anxiety or they're dealing with behavior issues because they've been abused and that kind of thing. We're just talking about dogs who are ready to go. They just need more positive experiences, not only from their people, but just in general. Get your dog to more, fun places. I just put up a post, and this is really important. We'll end it here. Schedule your dog's life like you would for yourself or your kid, because it goes by quick. Put the schedule in. Like, I'm going to walk them. I'm going to give them an extra time. We're going to go to their friend's house next week. Schedule stuff for them. Trust me, when your dog's taking their last breath, you don't want to say, geez, I wish I walked you more. You want to say, man, I walked you so much, my back hurt. I loved you that much, man. Yep. I actually didn't have a life because I love you so much.
I love you so much.
That was my life anyway.
That's yes, indeed. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And if you're a dog professional, please join us for the second half of this conversation in your Good Dog Pro online learning account. We'll be continuing this from the dog professional side of the conversation. Our next week, please join us for generic impulse control and stress reduction for all dogs, where we're going to talk about making every day in your life and your dog's life less stressful. And what a wonderful thing that would be and will be. So we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
If you'd like to participate in the rest of today's conversation for professionals who work with dogs and receive continuing education credits from participating organizations for listening, visit gooddogpro.com and subscribe today. Use coupon DOGSROCK to get 40% off your first month or annual subscription.